Hello, I'm Dave Arnold, producer of Focus on the Family Radio Theater. In the next few minutes, I'd like to take you behind the scenes of our production of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. When many people think of radio drama and sound effects, they hear the coconut horse hooves and the tin sheet thunderclaps from the golden age of radio. But in today's world of digital technology and movie surround sound, well, it can be a challenge living up to an audience's expectations. Creating the unique world of Narnia for radio upped the ante even more. Here to talk about the audio production for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is sound designer Mark Drury.
I think the real goal the radio theater team had for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was to create the multi-layered sound of an epic motion picture, just without the motion picture. We really wanted the audience to be able to close their eyes, listen to the show, and see everything that's going on, just through the use of sound. There are specific sound effects we need for a show like this that simply don't exist in any sound effects library or doesn't exist in the real world at all. In that case, we have to go and create or build that sound effect using multiple sound effects that we then can combine and manipulate and layer together to get the achieved effect we want. A good example of this, and probably the most challenging one I had for the show, was creating Aslan's roar. Now, I couldn't just use a typical lion roar, well, for two reasons. First of all, they don't last long enough. They're pretty short, and I needed something that lasted several seconds. And secondly, they're not terrifying enough. Aslan's roar is described as being able to bend trees over, and nothing like that exists in the real world. So what I ended up having to do was listen to a lot of different animal sounds, growls, roars, all kinds of different animal noises, and ended up combining a lot of those together to get the right effect. I ended up using the sounds of a lion, a tiger, a snow leopard, grizzly bear, polar bear, and the call of a humpback whale. And here was the end result. Another created effect was the stone table cracking in two during the Aslan resurrection scene. Because this table was a large stone slab, probably 8 to 10 inches thick, it had to make a tremendous sound when it cracks and falls to the ground. I ended up combining the sound of an earthquake, a close-up lightning strike, a cannon firing, fabric ripping, and a piece of plywood tearing. Altogether, it sounded like this. A different kind of challenge was doing the various Foley effects for the show. For those unfamiliar with it, the term Foley comes from the movie industry, and it describes the sound effects created after a film is shot that correlates to actions or movements of an actor on screen. Walking, folding a newspaper, putting a coat on, pretty much any sounds the actor makes other than the dialogue. We do the same thing with our radio dramas, but the Foley becomes even more critical since it's totally responsible for communicating any actions and movements of the characters. There's obviously no visual reference for the audience to see what's going on. When we record the voice actors, they're all standing behind microphones in a studio, not moving. So later in the production process, we go into a special Foley room, and while listening to the actor's dialogue on headphones, we act out and record whatever movement or action the character is supposed to be doing. Hopefully, by doing so, we make the audience believe that Lucy is walking through the wardrobe into a wood, or Edmund is climbing up onto the White Witch's sleigh, or that Aslan, this big lion, is bounding along with children on his back. One of the specific requirements for The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was to get a convincing sound of people walking in snow, since the first half of the show takes place in winter. To achieve this, I went to the grocery store, bought 20 one-pound boxes of cornstarch, and spread it on the floor of our Foley room. This gave us just the right crunching sound of snow when we walked on it, and it didn't melt. Of course, by the time we were done with all the snow Foley, the walls, our clothes, our lungs were coated with the white powdery residue from the cornstarch. We also ran into a Foley situation we had never dealt with before, making the walking and running sounds of a four-legged animal, and not just any animal, but a huge lion with big padded paws. Aslan, of course. Now, my Foley partner, Dave, and I usually work together on projects like this, each of us acting out a certain character in a scene. In this case, doing the Foley for the 4 legs of Aslan meant we had to split the work between us, one being the front 2 paws and the other being the back. Now, aside from the fighting over who was the front and who was the back person actually had the harder job, as he had to watch closely what the other was doing and time his back paws to match the speed and rhythm of the front paws, so it actually sounded like a large cat. To get the right sound of these lion paws, we went to a local department store and found some big, padded bedroom slippers that had just the right sound. Well, it was doubly cool, too, because they also happened to be plush animal slippers, each in the shape of a lion's head. So we both looked pretty silly in the Foley room with our headphones on, bounding in place, intently trying to stagger our pace with each other while wearing these big, fuzzy lion's head slippers. But, hey, getting the right sound is all that really matters.
I'm Dave Arnold. Thanks for joining me for this behind-the-scenes look at The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from Focus on the Family Radio Theater.